G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here, with what's probably the final of the clips in my series on how to treat a maceration avulsion wound to the finger. I'm not flipping you the bird, although people have suggested that that's what I've done the series for, so let's turn it around and have a look at it that way. Now, from up around there, all the way up to there, was torn open. The fold line went across there. I was looking up into the wound and seeing a little bit of bone and the fingernail from the bottom. The crush started about here, it got both joints and went diagonally along there. I didn't get too much nail damage because the tissue had absorbed the stress by first getting squashed and then failing, and of course the nail was on the other side of the bone, which effectively saved the nail. I've just had a look at a video by a bloke called Violate, V-I-G-H-O-L-A-T-E, lowercase v, who sort of surprised me with a comment on one of the earlier threads regarding this finger, telling me that he's 21 days after crushing his finger between two rocks. And he's done a lot more damage up around the tips, but the first thing that comes to mind, Violate, is, gee, I wonder why the doctor bothered sewing it up. You know, I mean, with a crush tear injury, what I was taught and what my textbooks taught me and what a bit of experience has taught me, is straight away after the injury, when you clean up the wound, you can't tell what tissue is actually going to grow back. There's no way that experience will tell you that this bit here is okay and 3 millimeters to the left of it it's going to die. So you just have to give it that week, and if you can keep it clean and stop it from getting infected during the week, then at the end of the week you got no doubts at all as to what's dead and what's still alive from the colour of it. You know, if it's white or if it's black, then it's dead, it's not coming back. But the thing is, if you immediately debride it and take away that tissue, then you haven't got the connective tissue scaffold in place, and when your immune system tries to rebuild something, it hasn't got any idea or a plan of where to go and what to do. Whereas, you know, if you have a look at this, you'll see that on day 8, all this was open right up there nearly to the nail, and this was floating free, and there was, you know, like black over the top of red with God knows what underneath. So I hesitate to get involved with telling you what to do with yours, but I'm wondering, are you giving yours the hot salty water treatment to try and suck interstitial juice out of the swelling, try and, you know, keep down the infection without relying on antibiotics? And the other thing was, with your crushed fingertips, I'll bet your nail beds were hurting like a hell, because there will have been bleeding under the nail beds, which I didn't have much of. But one of the things you can do with bleeding under the nail beds, you're going to need a local anaesthetic and somebody else to do it, but you can drill a hole in the nail, and that lets that old blood out, so you don't get pressure from the bleeding wound lifting the rest of the nail off the bed. That's what does the hurting. And that's probably why your fingernail has fallen off at about day 18, I think it was, on your series. So anyway, yeah, mine is working pretty well, like well enough that I can pick things up with it, right? And that was about the limit of what I'd like to pick up is a radio set. Let's try something a bit better. A coffee cup with coffee in it. Yep, finger and thumb. So yeah, mine's working, and today's day 42. So that's 6 weeks since I failed to listen to my guardian angel or my subconscious mind or an ancestral spirit or a passing forest ghost or whatever it was that yelled in my ear, no, don't do that, just before I inflicted this injury on myself. And having inflicted the injury by not paying attention to the hunch or the subconscious or the voice or the guardian angel, when I got back here and I flushed it with cold water and looked at it, I just got this real strong idea that it would be a silly idea to take it to hospital and let a strange doctor I've never met before have a play with it on a Sunday night. And when the doctor that I used to work with back in the days when I was the registered nurse in charge of the Vegetable Creek Hospital, and the doctor used to be the director of nursing of the Vegetable Creek Hospital, and I figure he and I could have consulted on it, and maybe I would have had an antibiotic cover, but we would have had the same treatment. When he wasn't available at day +1, and on day +3 I found I couldn't get an appointment until, whenever. I think finally on day 8 I rang up the doctor to try and get an appointment, and the closest one was day 13. By day 13 I had mine under control. So it went very close, but it never quite triggered my reflex of, gee, I have no idea how to treat this, and if I know what to do to treat it, then generally this little old registered nurse treats it rather than going to a doctor. Why go to a doctor if you already know what you're doing? If you don't know what you're doing, then you have to go to a doctor or find a nurse who'll do it for you. So, assess, plan, implement and evaluate the nursing process. It grows fingers back on the end, whereas if you amputate it, they never grow back. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Thanks very much for paying attention, and Violate, good luck, mate. Ciao.